It's Miss Lori from ACM coming to talk to you about some homemade materials that we can all make at home. We wanted to be able to show you some things that we've done before and also give you some new ideas for some things that are out there because as we're all at home with all of our children, we know that coming up with new activities for these little ones to keep them busy is a big challenge and an important part of the day. So we thought if we did some of the work and provided it in a video for you, maybe that would inspire you to take a moment to pull some materials together to make your week a little bit easier. We're not coming up with anything complicated, so don't worry, it's going to take you running to the store or money or a lot of time. It's just things that mostly you have around the house. Some of these things you may have seen before, some of them may be new ideas to you, but we don't know where all of you are coming from. So we just want to start at the beginning and kind of move through some simple ones and then show you some more interesting and difficult ones and then different ages for different kids that you have at home and just see if we can help you in any way. Okay, so it's Miss Gretchen and I on the video today, and she's doing tech support, but she's also going to jump in at some point and show us some wonderful ideas that she found on Pinterest. So you won't just have to listen to Miss Lori ramble for the next 20 minutes. So I'm going to start with some really simple ones with things that you can make from, you know, these paper towel rolls that we all have and the toilet paper rolls. There are hundreds of ideas. I'm just going to show you a few because once you start thinking about it, you'll get creative too. So this is the one that's really simple to make. You let your children decorate them, paint them, stickers or whatever. They can cut little pieces out of the end to make them kind of flail a little bit. And these can be known as, of course, musical instruments. Da, 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 da. They can also be used as wands or magic wands that help them to do things throughout their day, like not be afraid or go to sleep at night or take their nap or be nice to their sister or be, you know, be kind to the animals. These things have great powers, and if you put the powers in them and tell the children to let the wand help them, they can do some fabulous things. So these are magic wands, instruments, whatever. Also, the thing that you can do with it is, of course, tape them together and make binoculars. You just let them decorate them so they're personal to them and tape them up. You can put a hole in each side and a string around their neck, and then they can wear them around their neck all day long as they look for birds or bugs or things around the house of different colors. So binoculars. The other thing that is really fun is I know you can't see how long it is, but it's really long. It's a ball ramp, or it can even be a car ramp. But if you take this, so you see we taped several of them together, and the ends are open. And if you take this and tape it to the wall where it's at an angle like this, and then if you want to put it up higher so they have to reach or get a stepping stool, or if you want to keep it low so they can reach it easily, that depends on the age of the child, but tape it somewhere where they can put a basket at the low end down here on the floor, and then at the top end, of course, they can have all kinds of things that they can put inside of it. So like balls. So if they throw the balls in, of course, they're going to go all the way down and come out in the basket. So they can put cars in there, they can put rocks in there, they can put anything, bottle caps, anything that you have at the angle, it's going to fly down the tube and land in the bucket, and then they can take them all out and start over again. So that kind of activity can keep them busy for, you know, 20, 30 minutes, easy, no problem. And it's very easy to make. The longer you make it, or you can even make 2 of them, 3 of them, and put them on top of each other and have races. You know, let sister take the top one, dad takes the middle one, and Bubba takes the short one. So, or the bottom one. So anyway, those are some activities. I think that's the only ones I put together today for showing you the activities. But if you, of course, Google what to do with an empty paper towel roll, you're going to get about 5,000 ideas. But they're so easy, and you've got these in your recycle bin already. Okay, so I'm going to go to another one. This one is also very easy. This one involves, oh, sorry, I forgot one of my paper towel activities. This one is a rocket ship. And so if you take some type of paper and put it in it and let them decorate it, this is the fun part, is teaching them how to use the clothespins. So as you see, it can stand up and they can do the blast off with it. But first they have to learn how to use the clothespins to put them on. And so this is a really good activity for their hand skills, to be able to teach them to open and close, and how to actually put it on to another object. Of course, if that's too hard for them, you can always just give them a basket of them and let them put them around the rim and practice that first, because if something's stable on the table as opposed to something that they have to hold, this might be for an older child that's already mastered this, but you can start with the basket and putting them on the rim for the toddler, for the younger child. So with the toddler, you're going to want to remember that if they don't yet understand how not to break things, that things can break, there's a certain cognitive ability where they get to where they understand if they do something wrong, it might break. Sometimes that doesn't happen until 2.5 kind of. So you want to teach them that if they pull the wrong way, this way, open, this is going to break. So they only want to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze like that. And once they can understand squeezing and doing that, then they can go to this. So it is a skill you have to teach first. But when you give them a basket of 20 of these and they are practicing how to squeeze and put on, there's a 30-minute activity right there, and it didn't cost you a dime. Okay, so that's it for the paper towel rolls. The next activity I have is scrubbing. And so scrubbing, of course, is good hand skills also. This activity we actually have in our classroom. It's Mr. Elephant and his bathtub, and I'm going to move you over where you can see him in the bathtub. And we just take a little bit of water, not a lot. I do not ever fill this tub up with water, because then we have a water mess everywhere. I always show them that I squirt a little bit of soap, 1, 2, 3, on his back, just a little bit, and then we give a little cup of water. So maybe just a little bit like this, and we pour it on to get the water started. And then you can give them a variety of brushes. And so toothbrushes, old scrubbing brushes, and then let them dip the water in and just start scrubbing. And the bubbles show up, and that's fun. And they get to scrub his whole body, turn him over and scrub his feet and his tummy. And that's a really good activity for learning to grasp something and scrub. And then when they're done, they get to get a washcloth or a towel and dry them off and put this activity away. And so again, this is another activity that with a sibling even, they can work on it for 15, 30 minutes, no problem. The other scrubbing activity I have, and by the way, I know you may not have a giant elephant at home, but you do have, even if you don't have a big animal like this, a plastic animal, you do have lots of little ones, and that's just as fun. So you can get 2 or 3 different little animals that siblings or that the individual can play with, and they can give them each a bath. So whatever you have works. The other scrubbing activity I have is with coins. And so, of course, it has to be a child old enough, at least 2, 2.5, that understands that this is not candy, but I get a bag of coins. And of course, coins are dirty. And so you might want to rinse them off first before you give them to the child, just in case they happen to have something on them, especially in this coronavirus age we're in. But you can spray them with bleach and let them dry, and then give them the activity. But they can hold each one of them individually in a bowl of water, and they can, of course, take a little brush and scrub them clean, and then put them on another bowl, put them in another bowl to start rinsing, and then transfer them to a towel to start drying. And they can be responsible for all those parts of the activity. So scrubbing with soap, rinsing them off, and drying them off with a towel. When they're done, if you strategically put in your bag the different amounts or the same amounts of quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, they can count and match and sort. And so that's another 15, 20, 30 minutes that you can have an activity that they can work on. They can sort all of the quarters together, sort all of the nickels, dimes, and pennies apart, and then they can count them. How many do they have? And so that entire activity right there, if used right, can be a good learning activity, but can take a while, and it's challenging. So that's what we want. Independent work, challenging work, something they're going to learn from. Okay, moving on. I'm going to keep going kind of on the same note here with counting and sorting. And this one here is a very simple activity. It's literally a used bottle from juice with different straws. You may have plain straws, reusable straws, white straws. I happen to have colored straws. You can get these in the grocery store for $100 for like 99 cents. They sell them year round. But these can be not only sorted by color, but just if you find a bottle that has a small mouth, it's a little more challenging because once you put a few of them in, it starts getting a little more difficult to put the straws in. And so by the time they get to their last few straws, they don't go in quite as easily. And sometimes if your bottle's big and tall enough, it also falls over and it makes it a little bit more challenging because they have to pick it up and start over again. So that's also a fine motor activity for you there. Let's see. I have another one here. These are two very similar ones. In and out activities, but counting and sorting. I'll start with the pasta. Again, a recycled bottle, a bunch of different pastas inside, dried pastas, of course, haha. Not left over from dinner last night. I'm just kidding. Anyway, you can give them 20 of them or 30 of them, and they can pour them all out on the table. And then in these, the interesting part about these, which is why I like these, is I tell them to stand them up. Stand up your trees first. Let's count them. And so, of course, that one won't stand up, but there you go. See, they all stand up. So it takes some talent and it takes some time to stand up 20 or 30 of these little pastas. So that is an activity that they can do. The older kids can put them in sets of 5 or 10. The younger kids can just stand them up and count them 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. And it's a great fine motor skill. Focus, attention. When they're done, they can put them all back in the bottle. And I also remind them with this activity that they're very fragile and they can break. Hold on a second, I have letters on my screen. There we go, hello. I remind them they're fragile and they can break because I want them to keep them on their mat, because if they step on them, and when they do step on one, because they will, and it breaks, you show them how to pick it up, ask them if they can fix it. No, pasta's not something we can fix, it's cracked. So then we'll put it in the trash can, and that's okay. They learn to be very careful with this activity. But again, that's a good one right there. Cheap, you have it at home, keeps them busy for hours. Well, at least 30 minutes. This is very similar. Again, a bottle. This one is full of beans. I don't know if you can tell, but they're dried beans. I have this one in my classroom because if you have a child who really likes to sit and do fine motor work, and Teddy, I have you in mind, if you pour this bowl, this jar of beans into a bowl and ask them to put them back into the jar one by one, imagine how long. I actually counted this beans, and there's like 243 beans in here. So if you actually have them pour them all out, now this might be something that you have to sit there with them and watch just to make sure they don't try to eat them or shove them up their nose. But if you're in the vicinity and you remind them, and then put them all back in. Put them all back in. See, it takes a while to do one at a time, especially because remember, this is a very small opening in this bottle. So if it was big, they could throw handfuls at a time, but they can't. We've tricked them. It's a small opening, so they can only do one at a time. So you see, even doing 10 of them could take them a couple of minutes. So beans in a bottle, dried beans in an empty bottle. That's all you need right there.
One of my ideas that I was going to show is for older children, for primary. So it's very simple. The goal is to get as creative as you can with what you have, and all you need to do is cut up pieces of paper and write different numbers on them, and you can use the clothespins from the baskets, or pebbles or coins or beads, grains of rice, depending on your child's age, cereals, candies, leaves, anything of that sort. If you have a younger primary child, simply coloring some dots on there for them to place each item on would work as well. So it's just a very simple counting, and they can do all kinds of different things. One idea is have these set up and have them go find the right amount of items from your house too as well. So they run around looking for things. I have a Pinterest board. Hold on. Can you hear that, Miss Lori?
I can, but not very loud. I was actually, till you said that, I was wondering if I was hearing things. And then I remembered you had kitty cats.
She's crazy. Yeah, it's because none of us are out there. Okay, that was funny.
I can
So
hear.
I have I have a Pinterest board, and Miss Lori, you can talk on some of these like we were doing kind of before.
Okay.
Um, okay, I'm gonna have to let her in.
It's funny.
Okay, so well, some of the ideas, like I saw this one, and it's actually kind of interesting that you chose to do this one where you don't necessarily, if you don't have a plastic bottle, but you have a top that has a little hole in it, you know, you just kind of have to get a little creative when it comes to the items you have.
Yeah, perfect. They can take the straw and cut it in 4 pieces, and they can put the little
Yeah,
tiny.
and then you have smaller versions of it too.
Right.
So
Exactly.
this is one of my favorites that keeps them busy is you purposely make a mess with paper and have them sweep it up.
Yep.
Um, let's see, Miss Lori, do you see anything on here you
Yeah,
want?
I was going to specifically point out the one with the rocks and the pattern, because that one you can put in you can have it inside or outside, definitely. But like we were talking earlier, you could take a piece of chalk and draw it on the sidewalk or on the driveway. You could put it on a piece of paper in the house in a tray, but they could do it inside or outside. But once you draw the pattern and they have the rocks, that's something that they can, that, it's very challenging, that they can sit and work on for a
Yeah.
long time. So that's a great one.
And you could use all kinds of things. And here's another chalk idea, which I thought was kind of fun. Just them following the line.
Yeah.
And and these are for younger primaries. But anyone can, it all depends on your child. And this one's always really fun. If you do have a bunch of pipe cleaners, sticking them through the holes teaches them fine motor skills and threading, which is something we do in the older classrooms. Um,
And we've used that one in the toddler classroom, so it's appropriate for the 2-year-olds also.
mhm.
Yeah.
And then, let's see.
Cutting the banana, I think, is a really good activity, because and our kids in our classroom for sure, Lincoln loves to peel his own banana now. He's way past that now that I haven't seen him for 2 months, but he had just discovered right after Christmas how to open his own banana, and now giving him a plastic knife, not anything sharp, but giving him a plastic knife and a plate, and helping him learn how to put the banana onto the tray and cut
Yeah.
it into little bite-sized pieces, and then use his fork to eat it, is him doing his entire snack by himself. But it also,
And if you have this set up and you're working from home and you give them this activity, then maybe they serve you snack, and it's kind of like a courtesy.
and if nothing else, and they're hungry and you're on a call, you can say, remember, your snack is ready, go get your tray and go to the table, and it's already put out there, and you can put a an orange that they have to peel. You might have to poke the hole in the top for them to get started, but you can put the orange or the banana on the tray and let them choose. They can go sit down, cut or peel, and feed themselves, and 30
Hmm.
minutes later you might have mastered one phone call for the day.
Right? Yeah, so like this right here, a lot of times, sometimes you have to start those, but the cuties are made for kids to be able to peel. I do know that.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that.
They
um,
they made them the skin less thick, and they made the strings less stringy.
yeah, I know, and it's like it comes off in one fell swoop.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
here's kind of an example of what you meant by put it up against the wall,
Yep. There you go. And they
and
put
you
anything
can,
through it. Yep.
yeah, I mean you can get, oops, hold on, you can get real creative with those because if you get, let's see.
And while she's looking for that, I can tell you a couple of other ideas that are coming through my mind as I see some of the materials here. Is you have plants around the house, and one at a time, very gently, you can teach them how to clean your plants. And that's, you probably, some of you have probably never thought of it, because I will be honest and say, until I came to Montessori, I never cleaned a plant in my life. But now I understand that they're more beautiful if you take the time to get a spray bottle or a wet cloth and wipe the dust off of all of their leaves one at a time. And so teaching your child to do that is a fun activity for them and makes them feel very big because that's something they've never done before. But, of course, start with a sturdy plant. You don't want to give them a lily or anything that's
Yes.
going to destroy in their hands the first try, but something with big, thick green leaves and that they can really spray the water on that won't hurt and wipe them down.
Yes.
Cleaning plants
That's
is
when I started, was with huge like plants that my parents had that had leaves that were bigger than my head. And
right.
they'd be like, go dust the plants.
Yeah. And
I
also
don't
cleaning the windows too. They can spray
hmm
and wipe the windows down with a towel.
Wipe down window seals because those get pretty dusty. Yeah. Um, here's and this link is available to parents. Like this is my teacher Pinterest. And I even have an entire section dedicated to toilet paper rolls.
There you go. Look at that glosses. That's perfect.
So, and then I have ones for infants, and this is a more generalization one, but so yeah.
Yep. I know a lot of you parents probably have access to Pinterest and used it 100 times, but we're just trying to encourage you to take a moment to
Yeah.
practice a few
And this
things.
is something I've been collecting ideas for the 12 years I've been in Montessori, so
That's great.
it's got a lot.
Because I wanted to finish what a point I meant to make earlier that I didn't say is that parents, I know that one of the hard parts about keeping your children busy and helping them learn to work independently is that they get tired of the materials that you have at home for them. And so I encourage you to remember, I would say once a week, maybe twice, however you want to do it, but I would say maybe once a week for sure, switch out the activities that you have in their workspace. Don't give them all of their materials every day, every week, all the time, because then what happens is they blow through them all in 1 week, and after 2 weeks of using them, they're tired of all of them, and then you'd have nothing new to challenge them with. So I would encourage you to maybe put 5 to 10 materials out at one time at the most, and a few books, a few art activities, a few materials, a water activity, 2 outside activities, and that's what they're going to use for this week. And then maybe toward the end of the week, if they need something new, switch 1 or 2 of them out for something different. But you want to keep them learning, keep them challenged, but you don't want to blow through all 30 things that you have for them for the next 30 days in 2 days. And so what we do in our classroom is we keep some things up and we keep some things away. And when we see that they're starting to get bored with what's out, we switch a few things out to keep it new so they don't lose their attention. So just remember, it's kind of a trick, because if you keep some, and I have an activity I'm going to show you that's called our treasure box. It's really special. We keep up on the shelf that when we really need to pull something out, because we're really losing their attention because it's been a really rough day, we pull those things out. But those things they don't have access to a lot of the time, because if they did, then those things wouldn't be special. We wouldn't have that salvation.
Yeah. And if you take items away and in a week and a half they're bored again, you can bring that same one out and it's brand new again.
Right.
So
And even you can switch the container and the tray that it's in and switch it up just a little bit, but it's the same materials, but to them it's new, because instead of using a spoon, they're going to use tongs. Instead of using palms, they're going to use balls or cotton balls or something. And so it's the same concept of scooping, but it looks different. And so they think it's new. And so that might last a half a day. So, if you have just that little bit of information, that sometimes that helps you keep things new a little bit for them. Okay.
I was going to say too, keep in mind that kids starting with toddlers can help with household chores. So if you did laundry and you have to work from home, put the items in a basket and you can teach them how to fold them, and that'll keep them busy. And they love helping. So,
and if nothing else, they can just sit and help you while you do it. And that's an activity you've done together, but you got a chore done because they want to help. And I know you all know this, but we're just reminding you, encouraging you.
They love loading dishwashers too.
Just let them be part of what you're doing. Even if it's washing dishes, let them have a bucket of soapy water on the floor on the floor or on their chair and table, and let them wash all the spoons and forks.
Yeah. And that way you can get it done. You can get a chore done and they're right next to you, and you don't have, and it'll take probably half as long. as it would having to run after them.
Plus you know where they are. That's right.
Yes.
So tongs, we all have them. They're not easy to use. And so, again, it's another skill that they have to acquire. It's one of those things that if you pull this way, they're going to break. And so we have to teach them only for pinching, only for open close, not for breaking. But once they learn that or have understand not to break, you can put all kind of things in a basket and help them learn to tong them. And so I have some socks, for example, but you can get anything. You could get underwear, you could get washcloths, you could get anything, but helping them learn how to pick them up and put them in a basket. So if you gave them 20 different things and they could try to do this, this is very easy for me, but it's not easy for a toddler. This is something that could keep their attention and focus for quite a while. So tonging, there you go. I also have this one here. This is a simple can with rubber bands on it. So they're going to put the rubber bands on it. So teaching them, again, how to pull the rubber band and how to open it, put it on the can. It's a simple activity. It strengthens their hand skills. They can make colors and designs on any kind of rubber band you have, but putting them all on the can. There you go. Another activity. This is not the container I meant to use with this, but it's okay because it's probably the one you're going to have at home. These are tiny little toothpicks and a container. And again, the same thing as the beans, picking them all up and putting them in. Now, if you have one of those, they're the shaker tops. They're like what you see at a pizza parlor that shakes out the Parmesan cheese. And so that's the bottle with, the jar with the lid with all the little holes in it. This is really fun because then they have to try to poke the toothpick in the little hole of the lid. You can also take a cup and make a lid with holes in it. That might take you a little bit longer, but it's also activity that if you take the 5 minutes to make the top with using something like even construction paper and poking hole punches in, the top of it and then taping it to the top of a wide bowl and letting them use it that way, or taking any kind of wrap, saran wrap, full wrap, anything like that, and making designated holes in it and putting it over it. But also an open mouth is fine. A toddler taking all these little toothpicks and putting it in, it's going to take quite a while. And then usually what they do is say, I'm do it again, I'm gonna do it again, and they dump it out and they do it again. And you're like, you can do that as many times as you want. Good work. Okay, so in and out. Let's see. This is lids off and on. And I know we've talked about that many times, but you can take any kind of container, but something a little challenging. This lid doesn't come off very easily. They have to learn to twist, but you could get a variety of different containers. We have 2 or 3 activities in our classroom where there's some of them are plastic, some of them are tin, but I have a plastic box and a tin box, and they have all different shapes and sizes of the lids that they can mix and match till they find the ones that fit the right sizes and then learn to put them back on. So lids off and on. And if you have about 10 of these in a box and you teach them to take all the lids off, then they have to find which lid goes back on, and then they have to figure out how to put the lid back on because it's not easy. Okay, I know most of you probably have this activity, but you can put anything into, the bowls and the jars with a tiny little utensil and do scooping. So if it's rice, or if it's beans, or if it's marbles or rocks or whatever, but just using a small utensil, it's a tiny wooden spoon, to transfer to one container into the other. That's something that definitely they would enjoy having on a tray on their work shelf for them to use every day. And you can just swap out the dishes or swap out the material and you have a new activity. This is the sensory box I was telling you about earlier. You don't have to have a treasure box like this, but we happen to have a couple at our school that we use because it makes it a little more special. But you can just use a box and decorate it. It's just as great. But in the treasure box, We have different things that they don't get to see often. So we might put this up on a shelf, and once a week they get to pull it down to see what's inside, and you can swap out what's inside and out. But we have different texture balls. We have things that make noises. We have a special truck or car that maybe they only get to play with every once in a while, so it's very special. And then maybe, some things that, let's see, light up. It can be anything, but whatever you put in here, if it's on that special shelf where they only get to see it every once in a while, again, it remains a little bit special, and they forget what's in it, but they know it's exciting. And so then when you pull it down, they can sit and play with it for 15, 20, 30 minutes. So that's the special sensory box. This is a wonderful tool. It's a magazine, and there's some unlimited things that you can do with a magazine. One of the things, you don't want them to witness you ripping pages out. So if you want to do the activity that we saw on Pinterest a while ago, where they're sweeping up the big pieces of paper, make sure that's a great activity. Just make sure when you're preparing it, you take the pages of newspaper or out of the magazines. When you tear them out, don't let the child see you doing it, because then when we take the magazines out, they think they're for tearing pages out, and sometimes that transfers over to tearing pages out of books, and we don't want that to happen. So if you do that activity, just know that's something you set up in advance. Tear 10 pages out of the magazine, crumble them up into big pieces, put them in a box with a small broom and dustpan, and then let them practice sweeping up the pieces of paper as you're cleaning the kitchen. That's a great activity. So that's one thing you can do with magazine pages. The other thing you can do, I honestly pulled this magazine off my shelf and went through the first 10 pages and got 5 activity ideas, because they're full of, what do you see? Faces, colors. They're full of body parts. These are legs. They're full of different things that you can put in animals. Turkey right there, you can put into different categories for different things. And so you can, there's food, there's, every time you turn a page, there's something different. So we've already haven't even got through 10 pages, and we saw colors, body parts, food, animals, can't remember what else, but lots of things. So you can take this 300-page magazine, and this could last you for weeks, if not months, building different ideas. You can take those pictures and you can cut them out, and then you have activities. And so, for example, this right here, it's a piece of bread, but it's also round. It's a circle. It's a sphere. And so when you start cutting pieces out, you can see that you can do activities with shapes. And so this puzzle, pizza, when it was whole, was a circle, but when you cut the pieces out like this, now it becomes triangle. And so when you cut them out, you can make different activities where they sort the shapes. And so easily you can find pieces that have pictures of things that are square. And so for the toddler, they can sort circles, triangles, and squares. Rectangles are also easy to find in the magazine. So there you go. It's cut 20 pictures out of shapes, divide it up, put it into a box, and let them sort circles, triangles, and squares. They can also make pictures with these. So once they're done sorting, they can take the pictures and they can glue them onto a bigger picture of shapes. And then once they have those pictures of the shapes, they can also use those to find other objects in their house that match those. So once you have all the pictures of the circles, you can then use that picture with all the circles for them to go find things in their house that are circles. And you can put them all on the circle picture. So you can go on and on and on with it. But just from a few different shapes out of the magazine, you can have several activities. Also, you can make books. You can take picture books. If your child really likes animals, you can take the pictures of the animals and you can glue them on a piece of paper and you can put them together and make a book. You can even make a story out of it. So it might be a story about a dog who meets a turkey and they become friends, and just put 3 or 4 different pages of pictures that they cut out and write words down below, and you've made another new book for them, and they think it's hilarious. Also, just whimsical pictures like this for the preschoolers. This is, I can't tell if you can tell what this is, but this is a little girl made out of a potato. You know, they took a potato and then they just drew a stick figure around it. And the preschoolers love that because they're starting to be able to draw faces and body parts and stuff. And so pictures like this give them and put them into a little book or a stack of a box where they can pull them out when they need inspiration. They give them much creative energy and ideas for making their own pictures. So just little models out of a magazine like this can help your children be creative themselves. The other thing that, oh, I forgot to show you this. This was also with the shape one I showed you earlier. But look how perfect this is right here. Can you see this? So this is an advertise for hummus. I found this on page 8 of the magazine when I was flipping through. There is an octagon bowl in the very middle. So there you've got a new shape. There are triangle pita pieces all the way around it. So if you cut those out, you now have you have more shapes to go with your pieces. So now you have octagon, circle, triangle, and square. So there's another piece of your activity. The other thing that you can do with starting at 2.5 and up is working with child scissors. And so these are the safety scissors. They're smaller for their hands, but they also have the blunted top, so they're not going to, you know, poke their eye out. Not with these scissors. That for a child to learn how to do that motion and practice that takes a long time. But from 2.5 up, if you show them, they can start practicing. Then all these pieces from the magazine that you've cut out around your pictures, just make a box, put it with your scissors, and they can practice cutting simply by holding this one piece of paper and cutting lines, line at a time. Just cutting activity with a box with paper and scissors that can keep them busy for a long time, and it works on great hand strength and eye-hand coordination. So those are some activities from the magazine. If you do not have access to old magazines in your house because that's not something that you are into, we have many at the school here. And if it's something that you would like to try, let us know and we would be glad to put some on the porch in a box with your name on them, and you can take a couple home and see if using magazines can help you be creative with these activities. Okay, so let us know about that. I actually think, as I look around, that might be the last activity that I had prepared for today. So again, we wanted to do this just to get you started with some new work for your children, making homemade activities. But if this has been helpful and any of you want us to do some more, we would be glad to do that. I just discovered where my other activity went. I was looking for it. I was using it as my table. Boxes, boxes. Boxes can be used for so many things. So, you know, big boxes to little boxes. There's so many ideas to do with them. You can cut holes in the side and you can put things inside and let them stick their hand inside without seeing it. So you can be on one side, put something inside, and then they put their hand in here on the hole and try to tell you what's in the box by just feeling it. They can't see it. You could put things in there that are squishy and cold and warm and yucky, and you know they have to kind of guess what it is. You know, a bowl of noodles. Anyway, or a pine cone, you know, stuff like that has texture like that. So what is that? I don't know. It's pokey, mommy. I know it is pokey, but what do you think it is? Is it a fire truck? No, it's not a fire truck. You know, so this is more of an interactive game. But this can also be, like we talked about earlier, if you don't have that special box for your treasure, your sensory box, you can decorate this and they can use it. Well, we hope we've inspired some creativity in you, and not that you're not creative people, and you're extremely busy at this moment, which is the problem. You're trying to keep your jobs, work from home, and keep toddlers and preschoolers busy, and so we just wanted to help again in another way if we can. We hope you all having a great day. We love you all. We miss you.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I don't know if this is gonna happen, but maybe in like a week or so we do a show and share for everybody, and then they can show off some of the works they made.
You know, I'm up for anything. So if any of you actually use this video and if you were inspired and you make some new things, reach out to ACM's Gmail and let us know. And if there's enough of us that have been taking a moment to do this and we think we want to share these ideas, we can do a follow-up at a Parent Connect meeting. Definitely.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. Great. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Miss Gretchen.
Bye, Miss Lori.
Bye, everybody.